Are Chelsea title challengers after beating Brighton? It's a question that some rival fans might laugh at me, but in this video, I'm going to give 4 reasons why I do think that Chelsea could be right up there and potentially win the Premier League title this season. You heard me. And if you stick around to the end, what I'm also going to do is give you 1 reason why that might not happen, and you're gonna have to stick around to hear why. But the first reason that we must talk about, the reason that I think over anything else is the reason why Chelsea are going to be right up there this year, and that is Cole Palmer. 22 years young, a PL Young Player of the Season last season, 33 goals and assists in his debut season for Chelsea, 10 goals and assists in 6 games this season for Chelsea. Yes, it is absolutely ridiculous how this guy keeps on doing it. If he keeps going at this rate, he's going to get 40 plus goals and assists this season. It's going to be record breaking. This guy's a joke. This guy is way above what anyone thought he was going to be. And the people at Man City, the recruitment staff, the academy staff, they must be absolutely gutted to lose a player of this quality. And it gets worse. I was looking at the stats and I was looking at Premier League hat-tricks, and the most is Sergio Aguero with 12 Premier League hat-tricks. Guess who Cole Palmer has now got more Premier League hat-tricks than? Yes, I'll give you a second. Write it in the comments, who's he got more hat-tricks than? Yes, it's Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best players that has ever played football in the entire history of the game. Cole Palmer, at 22 years old, has got more hat-tricks than this guy. Maybe you're thinking I'm a little bit biased about this guy. Maybe, I'm a Chelsea fan and maybe he isn't that good. Well, why don't we look at the data here? Why don't we compare him against some of the best strikers from around the world? I think people would kind of agree with me that Haaland is one of the best. And yeah, why don't we chuck in Kylian Mbappe as well for Real Madrid? He's a decent player, isn't he? And they're a decent team. So what, they'll be right up there. Well, let's look at chance creation. Yeah, he's better than Kylian Mbappe. What about conversion stats? Surely he won't be that high because he's not even a striker. Yeah, he beats both of them. This guy is just a freak, and I don't know how he's doing it, but we are so lucky to have him. And Joe Shields, let me just give you a second. Let me just give you your flowers. You are an unbelievable recruitment expert for Chelsea Football Club, director of football. Let's give you whatever title you want. I don't care. Joe Shields, you deserve a moment in the sun right now because you have unearthed an exceptional player. You brought into the football club for what is an unbelievably low fee. I would have given you double. I would have given Man City double, maybe even triple the amount of money that we actually gave him. And we have got him. And we are so lucky to have him in and around the squad. He's calm. His technique is so good. He's positionally versatile. He can play on the right. He can play through the middle. We've even seen him, let's be honest, play as a DM. He's also played up front for us. He could play absolutely anywhere. And I think the key thing as well is he is absolutely ruthless in front of goal. He scored 4 goals against Brighton. 4. That's ridiculous. Like, when was the last time you saw a guy in the pre-season sort of media day, he goes and goes, yeah, do a hat-trick sort of thing. Do a celebration for a hat-trick. And he goes, 1, 2, 3. That's fine. Hat-tricks are normal for Cole Palmer. But then he goes, why don't we just add a 4? Why not? So he goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And he knew even before the season started that was a possibility. He could be scoring that many goals. And I don't think there are many players, even in the Premier League level, that would be rating themselves and believing in themselves as much as this guy does. And the cool celebration that he does is endemic of how he behaves. He's so calm and collected, slots penalties home, slots unbelievable world-class free kicks from so far out he shouldn't be anywhere near shooting, and slots it unbelievably well, top right bins. A 6'5" goalkeeper at full stretch cannot reach that top bins goal. It was ridiculous. Let alone the 4th goal that he scores against Brighton, which he just has no right to score. Slots it, bottom left-hand corner. It is ridiculous. And for anyone that's saying this guy couldn't propel Chelsea to a title challenge, quite frankly, just look at the numbers. And yes, I'm getting gassed about him, but the thing is I don't think you can underestimate the impact of one player. Like, you look at the way that Haaland has transformed Man City. Yes, they were an unbelievable team before, but with him up front, they score goals for fun. If you look at plays that we've had in the past, like look at the transformational effect that a player like Didier Drogba had, or the player like Frank Lampard had on our style of play. We know that that is the difference between being a title challenger and being a nearly type of team. But Cole Palmer has amazing quality. So, do you know what? I'm going to gas him up. But it's not just that. Let's talk about my second point. The second point on this is just our style of play. I think when you looked at the start of the season, Enzo Maresca had probably one of the most unenviable positions of any manager coming into a football club at that time. Now, a lot of you will critique that, but let's get into it for a second. He's coming in off the back of an unbelievable run at the end of last season where a manager in Mauricio Pochettino, who is a high-profile manager, a lot of people wanted to back him. In fact, I wanted to back him, so I completely understand how there's hypocrisy now. But you've got to look at it and go, this guy was coming in from the Championship. We weren't sure whether he was going to be good enough. He hasn't won anything. He was a young manager in the game, didn't have a massive CV, and yet he's come in and implemented his style. But you've got to say there is a transitional moment in which Chelsea were coming out of, and the directors of football always said, give us 4 transfer windows and then judge us. And I think you've got to look at the start of this season and the way that's gone, and you're judging them on a lot of successes. Let's just go through it. Let's just look at how we set up against Brighton. Obviously, you know, I look at the average positions. If you want to get access to this, use SofaScore. There's a link in the description. What an app. It gives me all of my scores and it gives the average positions. It's wonderful. If you look at the average positions, it's really, really telling. The 2 fullbacks are deep and inverted. So interesting. And I thought that both Gusto and Cucurella had wonderful games against Brighton. Gusto coming back from, again, another injury, slots in and absolutely does, fine, really, if we're being honest with ourselves. Looks very good, looks solid, was whipping balls in from that right-hand side. He could have got an assist himself. Very unlucky not to. But we just love that quality from Malo Gusto. And still so young. I think he's 20 years old. Ridiculous. Marc Cucurella on the other side. Again, we have got so lucky to get this guy. He cost a lot of money, comes in from Brighton, gets so much stick from the Brighton fans. They shout at him, scream at him, say that he wasn't good enough, give him so much banter. And you know what? He proves every single one of them wrong. And the reason why they're shouting at him, because they know he's so good. This guy is absolutely immense. A resurgent Levi Colwill then partners Wesley Fofana in the middle. And what a leader, what performance that this guy is doing. And again, you can see why teams like Brighton wanted to take him back, why Liverpool wanted him. This guy is immense and is a cornerstone for Chelsea's defence for a very, very long time. And it is so good that it's an academy product that's doing that. He should be and is very well deserved to be captain. And I'm sorry, but anyone that thinks Enzo is a more worthy captain than Levi Colwill, I just don't know what you're even saying. This guy should be captain of Chelsea, but it's so good to see how well he's playing. In front of him, you've got an unbelievable performance from Moises Caicedo. Everywhere again. He's all over the place. I don't know how he does it. Like, this guy, he must be absolutely knackered tonight. He must be wanting to sleep for 18 hours after a performance like that. He was everywhere. I don't know how he does it. Gets up and down the pitch. It's ridiculous. Noni and Sancho on either wing. So much pace. So much ability to beat a player 1v1. So much ability to get shots away, to get incisive passes away. These guys, they're just brilliant. 2 English players on the wings for Chelsea. Who would have thought? Another English player, Cole Palmer, through the middle. We've talked about how world class he is. And then Jackson, yes, he could have scored 5 more goals, but we scored 4. He, while he doesn't convert the chances, is still making the right moves, the right runs. Unbelievably beautiful assist for Cole Palmer in the first goal today. Unselfish, puts it back to him. Cole Palmer slots it. Jackson is doing the right things. And again, there's of course a debate that Nkunku has to come in. Of course there is, I understand it. Nkunku's great, but we've got so much depth, we don't need it. Jackson, more than good enough to start up front for us. And again, proving so many people wrong. Look at his stats from the last 12 months. He's right up there in terms of goals in the Premier League, right at the top level. So again, you've just got to say, there's a system element to this. The way that Enzo Maresca has played, tweaked his own formation in which he started a 4-3-3. Now he's made it more of a pivot 4-2-3-1. Having Cole Palmer centrally, who I've always advocated is his best role, moving up and down, in between the lines, finding pockets of space, dropping deep in certain games like Bournemouth, being high and aggressive in this game against Brighton, where he was effectively another striker in the press and does it so well, gets 4 unbelievable goals. Brilliant goals. And in fact, unbelievable is the word of the day today for all you commenters saying, what is Josh's word of the day going to be? It's unbelievable. I can't believe it. This result is insane. 4-2, first half. Ridiculous. But you have to say, Enzo Maresca has set us up in so much like an exciting way. We're aggressive. We're creating so many chances. There is so much going for us. But what about the third reason? Well, the third reason is the bench and the squad. You've got to look at it now. João Felix didn't even get on the pitch today. You had Dewsbury Hall and Carney not even in the squad. You had players like Reece James injured, again, not even in the squad. You had Neto, Mudryk, and Nkunku and Lavia coming off the bench. Like those are starting level players for most Premier League football clubs. It's ridiculous. And then you look at last season and where we were. Like we were talking about 10 injuries at this time last season. You were looking at a huge impact, like a decimated squad. How are we ever going to compete? When you look back on it now, you've just got to go, it's actually a bit of a miracle that we finished in the position that we did last season, bearing in mind that many injuries. But Maresca's come in. There's a new medical team. You can see there is difference. There's a difference right there. You can see that it's actually changed. We don't have that many injuries anymore. And the injuries that we do have, they're coming back relatively quickly and being integrated back into the squad. And luckily, they don't seem to be getting re-injured. Obviously, the big caveats to that are Reece James and Lavia. But you hope that they're going to be back and fit pretty soon. But you have to say, if we can keep this level of squad together, even with midweek games, and we don't have the level of injuries that we have, you've got to say that is an incredibly strong squad. And I think even, other Premier League football club fans right now would be watching a video like this, and I don't think they would be saying that we're being too ridiculous there. I think you look at our squad and you look at the strength and depth that we have, you have to say that we are one of the better squads in the Premier League right now, and the directors of football have done their jobs. It is absolutely brilliant, and you have to say, give them credit, give the directors of football credit, give Enzo Maresca some credit because he was the one that was under the most pressure of anyone. Give the board some credit, even though there's stuff going on, arguments between the board. They were together the other day. They were in the same stand. They've done a decent job. Like there is a moment where it's coming around. And then the squad, the players, young squad, one of the youngest in the Premier League, still so exciting, scoring so many goals, looking like a team, playing like a team. There's a huddle before the game. We never used to do that. Small things like that, body language, togetherness, playing for each other. It makes a massive, massive difference. And it is so, so exciting to see where Chelsea are going right now. And I do think there are other fans up and down the country that are looking at us and going, do you know what? Like that project's actually working. There is something actually happening there. And Chelsea are a force to be reckoned with. But there are so many other things that are still really, really positive. And what I will say is if you do want to see some of these games coming up, like we've got Newcastle, Arsenal, Villa, and Brentford coming up. If you do want to see any of those games and you want to get tickets for yourself, use a website that I've partnered up with called sportsbreaks.com. They're an unbelievable website. They give you access to the game via just tickets and a TFL card so you can get to the game yourself. Or if you're coming from further afar, you're not just in the London area and you want to get a hotel, they offer all of that as a package. It's a brilliant system. There's a link in the description. Make sure you check those guys out. But the last reason I will go into why I'm still so positive about Chelsea, and I do think we will be right up there this year, is the data. Like, as much as we can say and look at and watch the games and go, yeah, we played pretty well today. We looked good on the pitch. We've got a great squad. It's not just about that, is it? It's about whether we're actually, putting up numbers. And I think the numbers, they look good, like second for XG in the Premier League right now, first in goals scored, second in open play goals, first in expected goals to shot ratio as well. So we're doing the shots in the right places. We're not just sort of shooting from outside the box. The XG is really, really strong, and we're only 2 points off the top of the Premier League table, having played pretty much what is one of the most difficult games in the entire season in Man City, losing that match. And yes, I think, you could say maybe we haven't had the most difficult games. And I think we've got a run of form and a fixture set coming up now, which is concerning. Like, you look at some of those matches coming up and they're going to be incredible tests. But we're going into those tests having had a very strong run of form and momentum going into that period, which is going to be brilliant. Remember, some of those teams that are playing who are right up there in the Premier League will be involved in Champions League football. They'll be having their own injury problems. Like, you can see that now. I think we go into those games and we're really excited about them. So look, it's really funny because I think there's so many people that came off the back of last season in a really negative way, and I could understand with all the chaos that's going in why you would be negative. Like, the board situation is concerning. The new manager coming in was always a worry and it was a gamble. These young players, how well are they going to fit in? Another sort of round of huge transfers. Like, you think, how can this all gel together? And it's a leap into the unknown. And when you leap into the unknown, some things can go wrong. But I think in the grand scheme of it, right now, if you look at how well we have performed, I think you go, yeah, It's good. There are so many reasons to be positive. And I've listed 4 there that I think are really strong reasons why we will be challenging right up there in the league. And let's be honest, Liverpool are looking really good. Man City, even though they don't have Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne, they're going to be right up there as well. Arsenal, their defence looks so solid. Even though they've just conceded 2 goals to Leicester, they still look imperious and they are going to be a serious test. But Chelsea right now, we have the ability to muck it. And I do think we have the ability to challenge. And I'm really interested to see what you think. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm being a little bit too, I don't know, joyful, a little bit too positive here. I've lost my voice because, let's be honest, that game today was insane. I was shouting from the top of my voice, praising Cole Palmer, how well he's performed. But I did promise you that I would talk about one reason that this might not all work out. One reason why all of this optimism and all of this positivity might come crumbling down. And for me, there's only one clear thing that I can identify that I'm not that excited about at the moment. And it's the goalkeeper situation. It's Robert Sanchez. I think you look at the Brighton game today, and I think that was a really interesting way of describing what was wrong with Robert Sanchez. And look, I had a lot of stick, you know, in some of my videos and the videos that I've done with Joey. And Joey kind of wants to back this guy now. And I understand why. I think he deserved a chance to prove himself. And he will have a lot of pressure on him because he's got Jorgensen on the bench. And, you know, Petrovic, who's out on loan, who could come back and put pressure on him next season. And, you know, what it's like with Chelsea, maybe we go out and sign another goalkeeper because I wouldn't put that past them, to be honest with you. But the reason why this game was key for Sanchez is because he's made 2 clear errors. And one of the errors wasn't anything to do with his feet. The first goal, he comes rushing out to claim a ball that he was never going to get. And I think it's just one of those things where just simply calm down. It's at the very start of the game. He didn't need to claim that ball. Even if he claimed it, it was going to a Brighton player on the edge of the box and we probably still would have been exposed. You just want your goalkeeper to remain calm, stay in his area, stay in his 6-yard box, and wait for the ball to come towards him. You don't need to be in that position. I don't think anyone, even the coaches at Chelsea Football Club, would be wanting him to be anywhere near that ball. I really don't. And so for him to rush out, clear out Cucurella, clear out one of the Brighton players, but they still get the header away and they still get that goal, I think is a real problem. And then the second thing that we have to talk about with him is the passing. Like, he's done it again. He's put a pass towards Caicedo. It's high risk, high reward. Maresca has asked him to do it. But if you're going to do it right. And I think that pass to Caicedo, it was so reminiscent of some of the passes last season. And it was so concerning that I'm just a bit like, I'm always on edge. And I think when you're always on edge with a goalkeeper, it puts the defence on edge. They don't sometimes want to pass back to him. You can see that. And it's just not going to be good going forward. I don't think it's something that we can plan for in the future. And I do think there will be a period coming up very soon where there will be a decision to make whether Jorgensen is the number 1 goalkeeper. And I think if you look at the games that he's played, he's done enough to kind of prove himself as being all right and being a safe pair of hands. And so, again, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but if we don't get a solid goalkeeper and a solid base to build everything on, and especially with the way that Maresca wants to play out from the back, like, you do start to worry. You really do. So, yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that, really. The question is, for me, will Sanchez potentially cost Chelsea a title challenge? Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I being too harsh on him? Do you want Jorgensen to be the number 1? Let me know. I'm so interested to see it. And, you know, for me, I think this is one of the key decisions that we've got going forward. I think the squad and the team now really kind of picks itself. But I don't know if the number 1 position is locked. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am so gassed about the way that Chelsea are playing right now. As you can tell, the voice is gone. You know, Stamford Bridge was electric today. And I think long may it continue because we could be right up there. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video.